Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway. Today I'm pretty excited because I'm going to be looking at some Era 1 steam locomotives. Today's video is on my friend Peter. Thank you so much, Peter. There's quite a long story behind this. It was a little bit less than a year ago. Peter got in touch with me to say that he'd got some very interesting Era 1 steam locomotives and he wanted me to have them. Now, of course, this was insanely generous, but I told him what I tell anybody that offers me, like a free model from their collection. I say, it's very kind, but I couldn't possibly do that. And I always say that. I always refuse when people offer to send me locos. I know there are so many of you that are so generous that would just gladly send me a loco to review, but I don't know. I don't know what my problem is with it, but I think it's just the idea of somebody losing a loco, me gaining one, and then profiting from it when I make a video. It just doesn't sit right with me, so it's not something that I've ever done. And I told Peter this. I said, thank you, but basically no. But I did tell him that I was interested, and I offered to pay him for these locomotives, and he was having none of it. And then he said something that frightened me. He used the word bin. He said the models have got to go, he needs to get rid of them. If he can't find someone to take them, he's going to throw them in a bin. Not having that happen. So to cut a long story short, I agreed to make a donation to the Salvation Army in return for the models, and we both sort of agreed that that was satisfactory. So around a year ago, a bit less than a year ago, he sent me the models and I unpacked them and I serviced them, and they were amazing. They were really cool. And then I decided I'm not going to make a video right now. I'm going to put them away somewhere safe, and I'll make a video when things have quietened down, and it will be something amazing to do when there are no new releases. So I put them somewhere safe, and I guess the place I put them was a little bit too safe, because I've searched this room high and low and I cannot find them anywhere. I mean, it's just ridiculous. How does that happen? I think they might be over here in the cupboard of doom, and that is bad because it's a mess in there, and tiny little locomotives in a box, it's going to be difficult to find. So as much as I wish I could lift the box up and just show you the models, I literally can't. I've got to go on a damn treasure hunt to find the things first. So let's go inside there. Hopefully this won't take all day. Hopefully I will find the locos, and then we'll be able to take a look at them and enjoy them. And trust me, they are worth it. I am ashamed of what you're about to see. I promise you, I am quite a tidy person, but every tidy person has an overflow pipe, and unfortunately mine leads inside here. So yeah, all sorts of junk inside here, remains of old experiments, video ideas that haven't happened yet, and somewhere in this lot I've got to find those locomotives. So I will take a look, and once I've found them, if I find them, I'll set the camera up and we'll discover them together, I guess. Right. I've shifted some stuff and I found a box that looks like the box I think we are looking for. So, I think this is literally it. I remember this locomotive. This is a beautiful looking loco. I reckon I'll have to get that onto the bench at some point and see if that's going to be resurrectable. Yeah, let me know. Comment below if you'd like to see that done. Okay, is this the box? I'm gonna have a peek. Oh, it is the box. Right, I found it. It took 5 minutes. That's not so bad. That could have been a lot worse. Right, let's take this into the sort of room that is not freezing cold, and let's take a look. I'll try not to smash my head on the way out of here. Oh, this is exciting. It was actually a great idea to leave these 9 months or so, because seriously, with how bad my memory is, this will be like opening this box again for the first time. Right, are you ready? Let's lift the lid now that we're in the room with all the lighting and such. There we go. Right, gosh, and yeah, there are actually coaches for these locos as well. It's insanely generous. Thank you so much, Peter, for this. Right, well, I'm guessing you'll want to see the first of the two locomotives to begin with. So let's pull this one out. This is a really fascinating locomotive. Now, I'm gonna have to try and say it. Lafayette, I'm guessing. It might sound better with an accent, but then again, that's deeply offensive, isn't it? So I'm not going to try that. Yeah, what a really unusual and fantastic looking locomotive. Yeah, it's weird. Look at the front bogie, and then you've just got the single set of driving wheels. I love it. This is so much up my street. Yeah, I do remember, unfortunately, this loco is not a runner. There is a tiny little issue with this, which is so small and insignificant, but alas, it stops the loco from running. See if you can guess what it is. It's a Bachmann loco, by the way. That might give you a clue. When I do some close-ups on this, I will show you what the issue is. But I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up because, as I say, there are coaches. Now, which are the correct coaches? I'm guessing it's not this one, so I'm thinking the coaches are these. Look at these coaches, aren't they so cool? I'm getting real Stephenson's Rocket vibes from these coaches, although of course they are quite a lot larger. Look at the wheels, look at the spoked wheels. Those are really cool, aren't they? So yeah, my idea was, do you think I could build a chassis that somehow fits inside one of these coaches? I really don't know. I really don't know. I would love to. Let me show you the others. I think the others are, they are identical, but they've got different numbers on them. So yeah, that is my thought. That is my thought. Could I somehow make a chassis that fits? I'll have to, it would be some serious surgery. But yeah, could I do that? Could I make a little mechanism that pushes the Lafayette, did I say it right, loco along? I don't know, it would be cool to try. And there's wagon, or coach number 2. Quite large coaches, actually. I believe this is an HO set, but yeah, they're larger, aren't they, than the Stephenson's Rocket. Anyway, this is a fascinating locomotive in real life, so let me tell you a little bit about it. So Lafayette was created by the Norris Locomotive Works, of all places, for the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad in the 1840s, and the locomotive really did help to establish many of the norms that we're familiar with today on a steam locomotive. It would be the first B&O steam locomotive to feature a leading truck, I believe, so that's a sort of new trend for a start, and it also boasted new and modern features such as outside cylinders, which were adjacent to the smoke box. That was pretty new at the time. The placement of the driving wheels just ahead of the smoke box. And, this is the really cool part, a member of this class named England, I'd love to get one of those, was produced for the Birmingham and Gloucester Railway, meaning that this design did actually run in the UK. That is really, really cool. So that gives a whole new layer of interest to this locomotive. Let me show you up close one or two of the details, and then I'll show you the other locomotive. I don't know, folks, I just find this loco fascinating. I guess for the same reason I find Stephenson's Rocket and other Era 1 locos fascinating, and that's because we all know what a box standard average steam locomotive looks like. But during this era, there was no such thing as a standard-looking steam locomotive. They were still writing the rules. And so I've never seen two Era 1 locos that look even remotely similar. And this one, for instance, you can really see, because this is a bit later on, this is a bit later than the other loco we're going to look at, you can really see that it's starting to get quite conventional. Like I say, it's got that front bogie, and you can see this sort of connecting rod here, which couples up to the single driving wheel. That is starting to look like the locomotives that we're more used to. I mean, you can sort of see the beginnings of a running plate. You've definitely got some sort of footboard at the front there. And then just the general formation, you've got the firebox at the back, and the boiler, and then a smoke box. Yeah, it's still wildly unconventional, but it's starting to look like the locomotives that we know and love. So yeah, that's why this one is particularly fascinating. And I was expecting this loco to be really old-fashioned and basic, and while it's not quite up to the sort of modern Hornby Stephenson's Rocket standards, etc., it's actually much better than I expected. I particularly like the metalwork. This dome on the top here is made of metal, and I believe that piece in front of it is as well. And because I think this model has been around for a few years, that metal has aged a little bit, so it doesn't look brand new. I don't know, that's just giving it a really authentic look, if you ask me. The boiler looks pretty good. There you go, you got the nice boiler. Looks a lot like the Stephenson's Rocket boiler, doesn't it, with the sort of wood panelling. And then you've got the Lafayette nameplate, which I think is separately fitted. That looks quite nice. That looks quite nice. And I also love that you've got a little driver perched on there. That helps to sort of give you an idea of the size of this thing. Makes it that much more realistic. I will show you what's stopping this thing from running now that I've got the close-up lens. Yeah, it's quite common with Bachmann split chassis locos. It is, of course, the driving gear. If I spin it round just there, look, can you see there's a little split in it? And I have tried to fix it. I've put a bit of glue on and I've clamped it up. It never works, that never works, but for some reason I always try it. Yeah, it just pops straight open again. So that was no good, unfortunately. But I'm not going to give up on this. Maybe even a mechanism in the tender would be a good idea, because as you can see, to an extent, you can push the loco along. So yeah, it might be doable. And here's just a few shots of the tender. I mean, this is just the coolest tender ever, isn't it? It's a bit bigger than Stephenson's rockets, but it's just, I don't know, it's just like a little cube, isn't it? It's got the coal load inside, as you can see, nice and full. You've got these taps. Are these going to be for releasing the water? I'm not entirely sure about that. But yeah, it's really, really cool, isn't it, this? I can't show you this one running. Maybe I'll get another loco to push it along at some point. But I suppose for the time being, we ought to take a look at the second loco of today. Right, come on then, let's take a look at the other locomotive, which is a runner, as I remember. So we shall see. Okay, this is also a tender locomotive, and it is, I believe this is called the John Bull locomotive. And this is a fascinating loco. This was actually made by Robert Stephenson and Company, I believe. I will tell you all about these in just a second. Yeah, this is a really, really cool locomotive. This is much less conventional looking than Lafayette was, and I'm not even sure who produced this one. Lafayette was Bachmann. It is tender driven, this one, by the way. And yeah, I think it is actually Bachmann as well. This is the tender, can you believe it? And it's got sort of like a, if I put the two together, the tender has got sort of like a roof that covers over where the driver would stand. That's quite innovative, isn't it? It's actually thinking about the crews. Did they do that in the early 1800s? Well, I guess Stephenson did eventually. Certainly didn't with the rocket, though. I mean, just look at this. What even are we looking at? What an absolutely crazy-looking locomotive this is. This does not look like anything else at all that I've got. This front sort of truck, that is such a weird design, isn't it? But yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing with that. So that's the John Bull locomotive. More on that in just a second. And then there are these coaches. Now I'm guessing, because John Bull was a British locomotive, I'm guessing these coaches might have been made in Britain, although the class, well, the locomotive, was shipped over to the United States. I don't know whether Stephenson built the coaches or not. These don't really look like the Stephenson coaches I've seen before, but then again, they won't have kept the old Stephenson's rocket design, would they? Because it was so primitive. So maybe these coaches were made by Stephenson, maybe they weren't. Maybe these were made in America when John Bull arrived. But yeah, they're pretty cool coaches. I would probably guess the latter, actually. I don't know, they don't really look British, do they? But then again, it's always so difficult to tell where items from this era actually originate from. Yeah, the styles are all mixed up, aren't they? And then there are some little people. Even these are nice. Even these are lovely. Let me show you these. Look at the paintwork on them. Really, really nicely done. So I'm guessing this guy looks like he's got a nurse's hat on. I don't know whether that's just some strange phase he's going through, but I'm guessing he's the engineer. Maybe it's supposed to be an engineer's cap. I'm not sure. Anyway, enough of that. Let's not make things too strange. Here's a little bit of the history on John Bull then, and this is a fascinating locomotive. So John Bull was an even earlier locomotive than Lafayette was. It was constructed back in 1931 by Robert Stephenson and Company, as I say, and it was literally just a couple of years after Stephenson's rocket. Was Stephenson's rocket in 1929? Something like that. So yeah, despite this still being a very, very early locomotive, to me it looks way less primitive than rocket did, which is a testament really, isn't it, to the speed with which research and development of steam locomotives was progressing during this time. And unlike Lafayette, this was a British-built locomotive that operated in the United States, so it's kind of flipped on its head a little bit. But apparently it didn't work very well, and the American viewers won't like this, but apparently the quality of the track was much poorer in the States than it was in Britain, where this was built, and so the thing constantly derailed. So there we go, that should make some manufacturers of models feel a bit better. Back in the early days, the real things derailed all the time as well. Anyway, so this led to the addition of the leading truck, hence, of course, why it looks like such a bodged afterthought. That's because it was added on after the thing was completed. They also had to remove the coupling rod for the two sets of driving wheels, which obviously halved the number of driving wheels effectively, turning this into a 420 locomotive. I really thought it was a 240. but it isn't. It's a 420, technically speaking. I know, it messes with your head, doesn't it, to look at it. And incredibly, the Loco still exists today. It's on static display at the National Museum of American History, and the last time it ran might surprise you because it was quite recent, in 1981. It's quite incredible, given the Loco's age at the time. So I'm probably going to go ahead and say that this is my favourite of the two locomotives, probably because it's by Robert Stephenson, and I'm familiar with Stephenson's rocket. And in fact, if I bring in Stephenson's rocket for you, you can see that there are definite similarities there. The boilers look very similar looking firebox as well. Obviously, the John Bull was a considerable upgrade on rocket, but I don't know, yeah, you can definitely see the connection, can't you? And this is cool. There we go, look at that, no more front pony. I love that you can take that off, that's such a cool feature. So this is a bit more like what it would have looked like when it was produced by Robert Stephenson and Company, although of course there is no way to replace the coupling rods. But yeah, this thing is just really cool. It's actually, again, it's put together quite nicely. There are one or two metal parts, not all of them. So I think this huge sort of column here, whatever that is, that looks like it's made of metal. And there are actually quite a few details. I mean, the whole firebox has got plenty of detail on it. And I love how easy it is to see how this thing works. I mean, you can see you've got the springs here, suspension springs. I mean, that must have been quite an innovative feature, mustn't it? To give a bit of a smoother ride, stop the thing shaking itself to pieces, I guess. It's fascinating to see how tiny the boiler is. It's quite a long boiler, but it's very, very thin, very slim boiler, isn't it? So that's really fascinating to see. I don't know, it's just so alien, isn't it? It looks really strange. It's definitely the front pony that makes it look alien. It just looks like an early locomotive without that. But with it fitted, it's just got such a strange look. It looks like a snowplow attachment or something, doesn't it? I suppose if I hadn't read about this, I might have assumed that's what it was for. And the tender is just strange. It looks like a caravan or something on rails. I'm not entirely sure what the arrangement would have been with this. I mean, how do you get coal into it? It looks like a hatch that you can take it out of again, but yeah, it's a strange one. And if I remove the body of this tender, you can see the compact little mechanism. Yeah, it makes sense, actually, it does make sense. I suppose when this was produced, it would have been a real headache to put a mechanism inside the loco. So the tender drive makes a lot of sense to me, and it did work when last I tried it. But let's get this down onto the track and give it another test and see if I can actually get this John Bull to run, because that would be awesome. So let's do it. Wow, so that was a test of patience, that's for sure, getting those coaches coupled up. It's not quite as bad as the Hornby Stephenson's rocket ones, yeah, a bit easier than that, but still, yes, rather fiddly. However, there we have it, Lafayette and John Bull with their coaches. Lafayette actually looks really, really smart. It would be a crying shame if I couldn't get that up and running. So one day, I promise I will do that. And John Bull matching very, very nicely with the coaches, actually. Yeah, they do match very perfectly. But the big question, is John Bull awake? Can I actually get this thing to work? I don't know. I seem to remember it was a little bit intermittent, even after a service, but we shall see. It's only literally picking up with the tender wheels. I guess I could wire maybe a coach up with some metal wheels with pickups. I'm not sure, but hopefully there will be enough life here to just get a bit of a test today and watch this thing run. So let's try. Here we go. Oh, straight away. Oh, it only inched forwards, but man, I was glad to see that. Try backwards. Oh, yes, it's going. Okay. Amazing. Look at that. That's not bad. That's a lot better than I thought it would be. Okay, so shall I get this going? Let's set it to like 50 speed and watch it run. And this is one of the few occasions where I think it kind of makes sense to have this tender driven, because if it was loco driven there would be very little power there. Having said that, I'm not entirely sure whether it will be able to get up this hill. I hope it will. Oh, this is so cool. Isn't this so cool? It seems to be going fine. So there you go, it works. Yeah, I'm actually really pleased with that. I mean, I serviced it 9 months ago. It's been in that cold cupboard without running. And this really was the first time I ran it, that time on camera. Yeah, that was it. That was the first time in sort of 9 months or whatever. It was really not bad. It's a good runner. It's handling the coaches without any issues, and it's just, I think it's the most unique loco I've ever run, without any shadow of a doubt. Ah, yes. Slight issue on express points. I have a feeling that they might not have had huge points like that in the 1830s or whatever it was. Yeah, no huge deal. Just a little push and it's on its way again. And finally, as a bit of a special surprise, I wish it was real, but no, it's a cruel trick, unfortunately. But I'll be able to get a few shots just to show you what it would look like if it was up and running. It does make me wonder how easily that loco would haul these coaches, because it is just a single driven wheel. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. I really don't think this is going to work. Can those couplings really be pushed? I'll enjoy it for a second. Oh, we've got a bit of Mark Martinson vibe going on with the loco there. Oh, I think the tender might have come off. Yeah, they're not good. They're not good for being pushed, unfortunately. But yeah, that gives you an idea. Sort of. There we go. Is that illusion working for you? Doesn't sound so good. No, in all seriousness though, this has been a lot of fun. Huge thank you to Peter for making this video possible. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed learning more about these really early steam locomotives. It's really whetted my appetite for them, actually. Oh, that tender's come off again. Yeah, I'd love to see more of these Era 1 locomotives. Lion is going to be amazing when Hornby or Rapido get around to those. That's going to be awesome to see. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. Let's see what other Era 1 locomotives get produced over the next, well, hopefully, few years. And let's hope they're as interesting and as cool as these are. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I will see you very soon for some more videos and some more reviews. Take care of yourselves, folks, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, everybody.